Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to revolve a shape to make it look three-dimensional. And so as you see here, these are basic shapes that have been revolved, and it's fairly easy to do. I'm going to actually revolve one of these right now to make it look like this one right here. So basically what we will do is we'll go Effect, 3D, Revolve. Okay, and there you see it. It's been revolved. Now we can actually alter the axis. So you see the different positions here. So you can actually change the position. We can do isometric left. See that? That's kind of interesting, which might be interesting for what our project's going to be later on. Isometric right. Of course, you're not going to see many changes to this thing because it it is a symmetrical object. Okay. But anyway, let's go back to go to front like that. Now we can also do off axis front, which is what I would recommend. And we can actually rotate this if we want to, okay? And I'm just showing you how to apply this. Okay, now, one of the things I talk about is we want to go into shading this thing, okay? And that's one of the requirements. And I always say use plastic shading, but I just want to go through this quickly here. So we've got a wireframe. You can see the surface is a wireframe. No shading, so it'll just be flat. We can see it diffused, which is not bad. It's not a bad effect, the diffused look, okay? And let me take down the ambient light. And when we do that, you can see our shadows become much darker, okay? Now, the other thing to do is we'll go to plastic shading, okay? And plastic shading will give us much more of a more of a highlight on our shapes, okay? And we can, as you can see, I can shade it from different angles. Very simple, okay? But anyway, let's get started, and I'll show you how to build a shape and how all this gets done. So, let me do, one of the first things we're going to need to do is bring up our rulers. And we can do that through Command R, right there, okay? So, let's bring this over. And what I'm doing, by the way, is I'm just clicking inside the ruler on the side and just clicking and dragging out, and we get a guide in case you've never learned how to do that before, okay? So that's how you get a guide. Now, let me go, and we're going to use our pen tool, and we're going to create a tree. I'm going to create it like the one down below, okay? And I've got my smart guides turned on, and if you don't know about those, you see that right there, smart guides? If I turn that off, I don't get any information. So I can't tell what's exactly going on here. All right. I like to have those turned on for the most part. Sometimes I need to turn them off because that information gets in the way. But I just thought I'd point that out. Okay. And so I'm just going to make a simple tree here. Actually, we'll make it much more simple than the one below. And we'll close the path. Okay. Now, if we want to alter the tree shape in any way, we can always go in here with the direct selection tool and actually alter the shape. Okay. Just very simple. You know. Now let's zoom in here a little bit here so we can see it. Now, if we're going to make a tree, we need a trunk. So we're going to need a smaller shape here. We could actually probably use the rectangle tool for that, okay? As long as we're lined up here and there is nothing missing. We don't want our trunk to be too wide because this thing's going to get revolved, okay? And we want this trunk to be brown. And we can pick a brown. I'm picking a brown off my swatches. If you look in your CMYK, if you're using CMYK here, you can see how it makes it brown. Basically, we start out with more yellow, less magenta, a little less cyan. We can actually see how that gets changed there. Anyway, once we get these things together here, let's examine really close to make sure everything's lined up. And the best way to do is just zoom in. We can also do Command Y, okay? Command Y shows our vector path, and it's very useful if you need to correct things, okay? And we use Command Y in our last project. So anyway, what we're going to do is we want to revolve this, but before we revolve it, we want to group it, and I'll show you why. I'm not going to group this. I'm going to go and go 3D Revolve, and see what happens when it's not grouped? That trunk sits out separately, okay? Now, I bet if I send it to the back, it would do a fair job, but this always causes problems. So we're going to cancel that, okay? Now we'll just group it. And the easiest way to group it is Command G, okay? And if you don't know where to find the grouping, you can go up under Object, And we got group, and see I can ungroup if I need to ungroup. So now they're grouped together, meaning that, and you probably grouped things before. We've talked about that. All right. So anyway, now let's go and do Effect, 3D, Revolve, and now you see it. Okay. So this is much better. Now there are some choppy parts here, and that's part of the shading. Okay. And part of the shading here, if you look down at this plastic shading, I think even in diffused it has it too. Yeah, is blend steps. Okay, so let's go down here, go back to plastic shading so we get that nice highlight there. Um, Blend steps. So this technology that Adobe has created actually is based off of blends and not gradients, and we know what blends are. Okay, so what we need is we need to increase the blend step so it's a little smoother. See that? So when you have an object you have revolved, if it's choppy, then you want to up your blend steps as much as possible to get a much smoother result. Okay? And then if we're going to shade this, so I'm going to shade this on one side here, and I'm going to drop that ambient light again. Okay? Because when you drop the ambient light, what happens is you get that. Now, see, something's happened to my thing right there. Okay, I need to up the blend steps again. Okay, so anyway, see, I can get a nice tree. Let's say it's a nice sunset right there. Now, if I want to add another light source, by the way, we just add new light. Okay, and so we can always add another light source to brighten it up. Or in some cases, I like to do what's, we have two different light sources here. We could have actually, maybe light coming around like a reflective light. This button right here, move selected light to the back of the object, will simply do that, okay? So now this is coming around, and then this will be on the top. And so this is how we get a nice reflective light, okay? Very simple, okay? So let's click OK, and we're done. All right. Now, this is still, see, this is just this. It's very simple. We can take this, we can duplicate it, okay? And we can get all kinds of cool objects with it, okay? And if you want to do a forest, we can just turn these into symbols. And that's what I've done with this one. We can turn, I'll tell you about turning it into a symbol here. We just click on this object here, and we drag it into the symbols palette. And we're going to use symbols on our next little exercise too. So here's dynamic. We're going to set this to graphic, and symbol type here says dynamic. We'll set to static. Okay. All right. So what a symbol will do is, if we actually, let's say we create a forest. We can bring these out. There's also a symbol sprayer where you can spray and get a bunch of them. Okay. Now, one of the problems about dragging these out like this is the fact that the ones that are dragged out last are on front. So we may have to bring some to the front here. And I'm just showing you this because of what our project's going to be. We're going to be designing a game level map for our project. And so you may want to know how to design a forest. So see, I just brought that to the front. And the way I brought it to the front, by the way, was let me undo that again, because some people may not be understanding all this with Illustrator, is Shift, Command, and then I'm using the left bracket, okay? And up under here, up under Object is Arrange, and we can always bring to front that way, okay? Now, why would we do it as a symbol versus just copying this? Because now that this is a symbol, this isn't a symbol here. So like let's drag this one that I made, and we'll copy it too, okay? But we're not going to make it a symbol. We're just going to make a couple of these here. We'll move this one, and we'll move this to the back, okay? All right, so here's why symbols are important. So you see how easy it is to make a symbol. Well, let's say we want to change the color of all these trees, or change the shading on all these trees. Well, with these trees, the way I would have to do it is just simply going in here and changing the color. But as you see, I get a question mark. So I've got to use my direct selection tool and click on one, and then let's change the color there. And so it does it to only one. Now, if we've got a forest, we may want to do it to all of them, okay? And that's why a symbol is so important. So I'm going to click over here on my symbols palette. And by the way, I didn't mention it, but if you're looking for your symbols palette, it's not up, just look under Window, and you'll see it, okay? All right, so anyway, let me double click the symbol here. And what we get is we get the object by itself. Well, we can go in here now and we'll color one part of this. All right, and we'll change the color a little bit. I'm just changing it. There we go. Maybe something more like that. We'll bring up the yellow a little bit more. Okay. Anyway, let's say we wanted that green. We're going to exit out of here, right up here with this button, exit symbol editing mode. And now let's look. Okay, see what happened? It changed it. It changed every single one of them. Okay, so that's why sometimes using a symbol when you're designing is very cool. So I just wanted to show you that part of our exercise. So this little exercise, all you got to do is create an object and revolve it. Okay, and if your object has more than one color, then you're going to need to do more than one shape. And as you can see here, I have revolved these two shapes and made a lamp. I revolved this shape right here, as you can see, and that is a bottle. If you want to edit once you've done this, okay, the best way to edit it, and really the only way you can edit it, is by going to your appearance palette. So let's go look for the appearance palette. I think I have it over here, okay? If you don't see it, you'll see it up under window. You see that? It's the third one down, appearance. Well, here's the deal. If you're going to ever change something that you've already revolved or applied an effect to, what we want to do is we want to just click to edit effect, and we only get this in the appearance palette. And there it is. Okay, so if we were wanting to change this bottle's direction, you know, or let's say we're going to change it this way, so it's more straight up. Okay, let's change. Say we want to change the shading on it. I'm going to move the shading over here. Very cool. And let's say we want to put another light source here. We'll move this to the back, okay? And we'll send that to the back. Actually, I kind of like that, but I like it better like that. Now, our blend steps are only at 25. And if you're looking here, and see, I'm zoomed out, but I can see this little part right here where it's not doing well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to up the blend steps, and hopefully that will smooth that up a bit. Okay, there we go. Smooths it out. Let's click OK. And see, that's how we can edit really quickly. We'll zoom in here, okay? See what it looks like. And we can always up the blend steps a little bit more if we need to, okay? All right, now, with revolving things, I made some of these on the wrong side because it was just out of force of habit. So let's take one of these bottles, and we'll take this one down here. This is kind of more like a Pepsi bottle, okay? And what we're going to do is, it's just a gray shape, but if I wanted to have a cap, if I wanted the cap to be a separate color, I'd have to make a different shape for it, okay? But anyway, let's go and do the effect, 3D, revolve. All right, now, because I've drawn the shape on the so-called left side of a guide, because that's what I was doing when I drew this, you get this that happens and how it gets revolved. Well, in your 3D revolve options, you can always change that to right edge. See that? So basically, you got two options here. If for some reason you started to revolve a shape and it was looking weird, go to this function right here. Very important, okay? And so we can light this bottle and we can add more, we'll lower the ambient light to it. See that? Look at that. Look at all the detail there. Ooh, that's cool. All right, so and we can add another light source. I'm gonna send this to around here. Maybe send that to the back here. See, we can make things look very three-dimensional. All right, so let's click OK. I'm just showing you all the possibilities of what revolving can do. Now, it only works with symmetrical objects, objects that are the same shape and size and contour on both sides. So let's take this pond, for instance. Okay, very simple shape. Okay, well, it's actually a little bit more complex than some of the others. But let's revolve it, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so it looks really good. And see if we want to be looking down on the pond, we might want to do one of these presets here. We do isometric left. Okay, I don't think we're going to see much any difference out of these, except for that. Okay, isometric top. See, you can play around with the viewpoints to see, or once you get a viewpoint you kind of like, but you want to alter it, we can always alter it depending upon how you need to do it. Okay, so That's how we can do an object. Now, we want to display your object at the best angle so we can actually see what the object is. That's so key to doing this stuff, all right? And we want to make it feel like it's actually sitting on a surface, so it's sitting flat. But anyway, I'm just going to click OK on that one. I wanted to show you what happens if we were to have a stroke, okay? So, and I'm not talking about, one of those things that's kind of a health issue. I'm talking about what if we were revolving a stroke, okay? So I've drawn part of what looks like kind of like a martini glass. And that's what we're going to make here. Okay, so let's go and do 3D revolve. Now we get that odd shape, and that's because it's being drawn from the left. Okay, well, let's go to right and look at that. See, we can get a martini glass. Okay, so yes, you can revolve actual just strokes. Okay, and see, we can get all kinds of things. And if we wanted it wireframe, we could do that. Okay, now one of the other cool things I thought that when I first found this technology is let's play around and make different UFOs. And so that's what all these are. And this one right here, as you can see, has that white stripe there. Well, let's go in there and adjust that under the appearance palette. All right, we'll click that. It already fixed it. That's weird. Maybe it's because I created it before. But let's up this more, okay? But you can see, let's lower the blend steps. See, it gets choppy if you want it choppy looking. But we want it smooth, okay? So, and it's funny how that thing appears. All right, so that's what we need to do for this first exercise. Is I want you to draw one object. It could be a tree, it could be a bottle, it could have two colors, it could have one color, and we want to revolve it and light it.